Yeah, Siraj bowled yesterday. He looked absolutely fine. It's been great having some fresh faces around. Um, Look, I think the chance of both of them playing in the test are probably pretty small. We haven't finalised the combination, but I'd imagine, Kuldeep will play and Washi will play, and then one of those two will play. But also, you've got seven guys in the squad from G2 who played a IPL final 5 days ago. So it's just been good having fresh faces, and our main job now is to freshen the guys up and get them ready for a test match starting in a couple of days. I don't think you need a formal title to be a leader in a sort of elite setup like this, and I think Rishabh understands that, and I think he's committed to being a good role model and a senior player, like you say. I actually heard him and Gauti having a chat around that yesterday, and how you want to conduct yourself as a senior player extends to your communication, but also how you're going to play. And I think, with Rishabh's brilliance, we don't want to take away all the stuff that he does. But occasionally, if he can adjust his game to play the situation slightly more, I think that's something you'll see him work on. But he's been in great spirits again. He's always one of those guys who's happy and cheerful and sort of drives the spirit in the team. And you've got no complaints from him. You wouldn't even notice that his role in the leadership structure has changed. So no concerns about Rishabh, and I can't wait to see him bat again. Yeah, look, there's been a lot of changes in that spot, and that's not ideal. I think you need to look at the incumbents for that role and maybe stick with someone. It's a difficult position to bat and a very important position to bat. Dev comes in with a ton of runs in domestic cricket across all the formats, and obviously sized at a nice T20 IPL with Gujarat. So they're both in good form. I think whoever plays, that they'll be given a bit of rope now. It's quite difficult with one test match now, and then we don't play a test match for another 2 months, and then you play two test matches, and then you don't play for a while. So we need to factor that in. But I think the main point around there is we want to make a decision and then trust that person to grow into the role, and ideally quickly, because where we find ourselves in the WTC table, it's obviously we don't have time to bet in now. It's probably something we could have done better leading up to this, is nailing down that number 3 spot. Yeah, it's been addressed. That's a great point. Like you say, the IPL time cycle is so different to what test matches require, and the guys have had 3 days to do it. And obviously, an early training session yesterday, today's afternoon, and tomorrow will be morning again. Tomorrow will be optional, but I think guys have taken it upon themselves to be up early. I've seen a lot of guys around the breakfast room in the last couple of days. Adrian scheduled some gym stuff early morning just to force guys to get up and adjust their time slot. But these guys are good professionals. They know what's required, and they'll be adjusting accordingly to make sure they're ready come Saturday morning for the test match and an early start. Official communication will come on that. It's obviously big news when it's someone like Virat or Rohit, but the same protocols will be in place. We'll assess the fitness of those guys, and we've got a few days now to decide whether they're fit enough to play and be part of the squad and make adjustments accordingly. But I'm sure some official communication will come through as soon as the medical team's made a decision on that. I think it's a very individualistic thing. With the Indian hat on, we want the players to be at their absolute best when they're on international duty, and that's a case of managing it case by case. Also appreciate that it's a big time of year for those players. The IPL's a showpiece domestic competition, so it's striking a balance between those two things. And I think with the workload guys had going into that last IPL, or certainly a large proportion of the contracted players, I think we've done fairly well out of it. Injuries happen. You can't protect guys by not playing them, but we certainly need to identify the key parts of the international schedule and make sure our best players are uninjured, but also physically at their peak when we need them the most. I mean, those are the different combination options you've given there. I would imagine we play 2 seamers and a spinning all-rounder and 2 spinners, or 2 spinning all-rounders if you consider that the 2 guys we brought in can bat a little bit as well. Unless there's a reason to think that team's going to be important. The other options you mentioned there is to bring in a seaming all-rounder, obviously Nitish. But we certainly want to start preparing for the road ahead. There's going to be 9 crucial test matches in the WTC cycle, and sort of our last stab at making that final, which is top of the priority at the moment. And I think if you look forward to where we got to play and who we got to play against, look, I don't think good or bad is worth reflecting on. It's certainly a challenge. But, like I've said before, I've never seen an Indian cricketer moan or sort of defer or not tackle head on what they're asked and required to do. It's not ideal. It's a good test of mental ability and also technical and tactical ability to, like I say, you're playing an IPL final 5 days ago and at night time, and now you've got to come start a test match early in the morning at 34, 35 degrees. So, just another challenge in the road, and the guys will take it on like they always do. Yeah, our job is just to prepare the players for what's ahead of them. Sleep cycle is probably top of that list. And that's been addressed. Like I said, the players are acutely aware of what's required and the change in conditions. But I guess from a white to red ball perspective, or IPL to test match cricket, is really detoxing them. And that's what these 3 days have been. You want to make sure guys are making decisions based on where the ball's pitched. You want to make a few technical tweaks on how you set up maybe, and how you keep your bat shape and all those sort of things. And the last 2 days, and obviously today and tomorrow, have been all about that, just detoxing guys, make sure that those habits that are required to be successful in white ball cricket are sort of put to bed, and they focus on playing proper test cricket again.